I have a
Um,
question for you.
yeah, go ahead.
So it's a little generic question in the sense that, so if you are interviewing me and suppose you ask about a specific algorithm. So do you know about AWS? But I haven't worked on it, and at the moment I am not aware about how, suppose, say AWS or SVM works, like the main. I'm not confident enough to explain it. So how do you navigate that? But you still have the knowledge, like you still know how regression works. Still know about random forest. You have still
Yeah.
worked on it. So when somebody asks you about a specific algorithm, so how do
How do you
you
answer it? Yeah.
navigate that question? Yeah.
So I think it depends on, okay, if you have zero knowledge of that, like let's say they ask you a question about neural networks and you don't really know how they work, then you should just be honest and say like, I haven't worked with those, but I'm familiar with, and then you can just name a few that you're familiar with. And then best bet, they probably are going to ask you about those things that you're familiar with. I don't think it's never a hard no for me when I interview someone and they say they haven't worked on something that's, a little bit more complex on the complex side, because it doesn't, like, if they're really good at the intermediate stuff, right? And they know it really well and they can talk about it and they're smart and the other questions they do well, then there's no reason that they can't be taught to learn something else, right? Um, Now, if you know a little bit about it, like just enough to like talk about it, I would talk about it. And I'll give you an example. I actually like when I interviewed at Uber, I was asked actually a Kaggle grandmaster interviewed me. And I actually knew him ahead of time. I was like I followed him on Kaggle, I followed him all sorts, and he's like actually like a bit of a celebrity. And so I was like freaking out. Like this guy's asking me about XGBoost and I don't know the algorithm inside out. Like, what am I supposed to say? Luckily, I knew about boosting enough that I was like, you know what? I can talk to you about the intricacies of like XGBoost versus light GBM versus ADA boost or something like that. But I can tell you what the innovation that boosting brings beyond something like random forest, and then we can talk about that. And then like the other person's not going to be mean. They're not going to be like, okay, sorry, like you can't talk about it. Let's move on to the next question. They'll likely open the conversation in that direction. And so I just talked about what I knew about boosting and everything that I literally just told you about the trade off and like between random forest and boosting, etc. And
Nice.
then I got the
That's what I
job.
wanted to hear.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I got the job, and um, the reality on the job is like I worked with XGBoost on the job, but like never are you sitting up on the job being questioned, how does this algorithm work, right? You're actually just
Right.
like implementing this model and building it and uh, featureizing stuff, and you're like, so